Today we are sitting down at the wheel to make a cylinder. I'm going to take my sponge, just make sure my wheel head is clean of any dust. We don't want it to be super wet, but just wet and clean. I'm going to throw my freshly wedged piece of clay down on the wheel head as close to center as possible. You can always shift it a little bit if you miss. I'm going to scoot all the way up to the wheel. I'm going to get the clay wet, get my hands wet. I'm going to scoot up and I'm going to lock my left elbow on my body just so it has some leverage to push against my clay. I'm sort of pushing out towards about 1 o'clock. I'm leaning my whole body in. My other hand is helping it stay down in a nice little hill. It's pushing back into my right palm. As soon as you feel the clay stop moving, you want to slowly take your hands off so we don't pull it off center. I'm going to make a small indent in the top before I commit to going all the way into my clay. I've slowed the wheel down just a little bit now that I'm done centering, so my motions don't do anything extreme on the clay. My goal is to leave somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch on the bottom. I don't want to go all the way down to the metal wheel head. I'll have a really nice tube. If you're ever not sure, you can stop your wheel, take your needle tool, mark it with your finger, and you can check the thickness. So somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch is good for me. I'm establishing a really nice flat bottom on my cylinder. We can use our fingers, we can use some pressure on a sponge. We can use the wooden rib. The flat end of a wooden rib will do a really good job of making a flat, compressed base for you. Start to do my pulls. I like to pull up and in a little bit just so the force of the wheel spinning doesn't stretch my rim out at all. Notice the speed is still pretty slow. I'm pulling all the way up to the rim but not off the rim. If you leave the rim, you only get to leave it in one spot. So if that happens, we can try to recompress it with a sponge. If it's not working for you, we can use the needle tool. You can slowly let that score its way through. Have a nice flat rim again. So a little bit of thick spots there at the bottom, so I'm going to do one more pull. The goal of a cylinder is to have nice even walls, the inside shape matching the outside shape. Use the longer side of my wooden rib right now. I'm just going to put some even pressure from the inside with my fingers so I don't change the shape. This is going to do a good job of removing any extra clay we had there on the outside. I'm going to compress my rim once again just to get rid of any slop from my fingers or the sponge. I'm going to go in and I'm going to make sure to get all of the water out of the bottom of this. If we leave excess water in there, it's going to dry pretty uneven. We're going to have some cracking issues right through the bottom of your cylinder. We're going to use our wooden knife, the sharp end of our wooden knife, and I'm just going to flatten out the shape, and I'm going to make a little indent here in the bottom. It's going to give it a little bit of shadow, a little lift off the table visually, and it's also going to make a really nice spot for the wire cutter to go under our cylinder. Wrap this a couple times, hold it down with my thumbs, and I'm gonna pull towards myself. Scraping my hands off on my water bucket now so they're not sloppy, but they're gonna be nice and sticky. Pick up my cylinder. There we are.